And you are watching Life of a Daughter, and you're also listening to watch it, Life of a Daughter, which is kind of odd because we are watching ourselves on the radio and then we're also on the radio. So this is a whole new experience. Radio Tribune is absolutely cutting edge.
Yes, it is.
And I know that like people will follow suit because, you know, they will. So other people will be doing it, but you will know this. Radio Tribune was one of the first. So as people start like really getting into it, and you're going to be watching on Facebook how other people will be doing their show live, because you know they're all trying to figure it out. But I will say this is what being a social media specialist does. So, you know, media is one of my specialties. Internet media is one of my specialties, and this is what it's all about. So when people say, "Oh, A'Esha, I don't understand what you do," well, if you would sit down with me, you can know exactly what I do, and this is one of those things.
And Las Vegas, A'Esha is an expert in her field. She is a professional. She picks up on things that people who try to do shows like this never succeed at, because she has talents and gifts that come naturally to her, but she's also a trained professional. And you'll find that out. The more you watch the show and hear her speak, you'll find out the professional that she is.
Thanks, Dee. So Dee is going to be my guest, my co-host today, and Rolando, he doesn't want to be on the TV, so you'll hear his voice, but you won't see him. That's his method. And I don't understand it either because he's all dressed up. So I don't know what that's about. But I'm A'Esha Goins. And I appreciate you tuning in. And today I'm gonna kind of recap my weekend, and then we're gonna move into some topics. One of the topics we'll be talking about today is the foster care system and the lack of the Black parents in the foster care system. And then another thing we'll be discussing today is medical marijuana, because I always call it Marijuana Mondays. That was something I had started before I took my vacation. So we'll be discussing medical marijuana today. And then we'll finish the show just kind of talking about some general topics. So if you're watching the show or you're listening live, you can text me at 702-817-0781. And that actually is my personal line. So I got to figure that out as well. As a matter of fact, you could text me at 702-350-2178. That's 350-2178, and that's my Google line. So 702-350-2158. So if you have any questions or you're watching us on Google Plus, I believe on the broadcast, we have it open for you to text us in information. So let's talk. So my weekend consists of, I went to an event called the Be a Fab You Luncheon. And it was kind of cool. Two of the girls were my business boot camp graduates, which I hosted an event called Business Boot Camp. And it's teaches entrepreneurs business basics, which makes them equitable. Because if you don't know how to get clients, then everything that you do doesn't matter. So that's what I teach. And so Be a Fab You had this women's luncheon. It was so pretty. So it's Be a Fab You and little, Lord have mercy. It's an event planner. Her name is Pretty Little Details, Jade Hardiman. And it was the most prettiest thing. So she had a bar, and they had like a mimosa bar going on, and she had a little cake bar. It was just like themed bars all around. And then these women talked about their experiences and their lives, and there were authors, and she had, what do you call those people that do makeup and
Cosmetologists?
No, where they dress you up. I don't know. Rolando's looking at me, but so they had what I forget the young lady's name, but anyway, it was very enlightening. It's not often that women get together in an intimate setting and talk about the things that are troubling them or the things that they need to overcome. And, you know, we were talking about how your clothes fit all the way down to how your mindset should be. And they ended the event with this spiritual conversation about loving you and being okay with you and being okay with being comfortable, being beautiful. And it was just really, I cried, and, you know, people hugged, and they had vendors, so businesses were exposed. It was just really beautiful. So congratulations, Jade Hardiman and Ebony Taylor, for a successful event. I hope that you're able to do this every year. or even once a quarter, because sometimes we try to do things annually and it's really necessary to do them quarterly or more often. And I know that Jade said, because she's the event coordinator, and she told me that her because there was a lot of decorations and stuff, and she explained to me that it was kind of pricey to put on because she wanted because her event planning program is called Pretty Little Details. So she was really embedded in every single detail, you know. So I understand that it can be costly, especially for us, but I hope that they are able to get sponsors and we can do this every quarter, because it's something that I needed. You know,
Yes,
I felt
yes.
whole when it was over.
And does she bring this to any business that wants to put on this type of an event then?
I think that they could, but I believe that they just did it originally to expose their own crafts.
Okay.
Because I teach in business boot camp, one of the things that I teach is, if there's not a platform, develop a platform. Don't let the inability of people to exposure to limit your exposure. Create your own exposure.
Okay.
So oftentimes what we do is small business owners is we say, you know, nobody knows my business or nobody knows what I do. And so I teach, if nobody knows what you do, then that's your issue. Fix it.
Okay.
Put yourself in a position where you can bring your own exposure to you. So one of the things that they've done is they've positioned themselves to bring exposure to themselves.
Okay.
So they created a platform. So I believe that, yes, they could, especially Jade, because she's an event planner. You know, so if you need an event planner, please look up Pretty Little Details, Jade Hardiman. If you're on my Facebook, she's on there, and it's Jade Hardiman. And then also this week I went to church, because that's a culture thing, right? And I know that people say, well, A'Esha, everybody goes to church. But in a Black home, we are raised that Sunday you get up and you go to church. And it dates all the way back to slavery, right?
And not just Black homes. That's white homes. We did the same thing.
Okay. But so that dates all the way back to slavery, where we, you know, church was what we did for rest, really, then. But now, you know, it's become a culture thing. No matter what you did on Saturday, you get up and go to church on Sunday. And it's funny because a lot of my friends, they do some crazy stuff on Saturday, right? And I never understood this, but Sunday morning, they're like, girl, you know, I got to get up and go to church.
Yeah.
But now with so much church on TV, now they're getting up, they still get up.
Okay.
And then they're watching church on TV because they feel like you almost feel incomplete if you're not somewhere in someone's church.
Okay.
And then also it's a space for us to, he's showing us on TV. Also, it's a space for us to kind of commune together, to be in fellowship.
Yes.
So we may not see each other all week long, and, you know, but we see each other on Sundays. Now, I go to church where we don't have to dress up, which I'm so glad about that. I used to go to a church where we had to dress up, and that drove me batty. Actually, it's part of the reason why I don't go to that church.
Sure.
Because why? Like, why? That just drove me batty. So it's not that I don't dress up for church, but I don't want to have to.
And you don't necessarily dress down for church. You just want to feel comfortable.
Right. I want to feel comfortable. I hate nylons. Right. So I come from, yes, I hate nylons. I come from Church of God in Christ. And in that denomination, we had to wear nylons. It was part of the rules, I'll say. And I'm saying that lovingly. But I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a PK. Mm-hmm. And so preacher's kids absolutely have to follow the rules, you know. So sure. I was raised where we couldn't listen to the radio. So I used to hide. We couldn't listen to secular music, right?
Now, I'm a preacher's kid, and that was not a rule in our household. Ugh. But I do think that preacher's kids have a different set of rules than regular kids.
Oh my gosh, do we ever? So in our doctrine, in the Church of God in Christ, you shouldn't be listening to secular music. It's part of the doctrine. So my dad is he's one of the higher people. He's an elder in our church, and you know they have a hierarchy. Most of the ministries have hierarchies, right? So
sure.
They have a hierarchy in the church that we come from, and so bringing a preacher's kid, my dad was an elder, my mom was a missionary, so we had to follow those rules. They didn't wear pants, they didn't wear makeup, you couldn't have secular music. So my life was kind of weird, right? of course, that's what makes preacher kids the worst kids, because we're just kind of pushing against the system. Like everything is a battle. So of course I snuck and listened to music. I used to listen to the music under my pillow because everybody was listening to it. How come I couldn't, right? I mean, I get the reason why today, but then it didn't make any sense to me. What was the worst that could happen? I would sneak out the house, you know, the things preacher kids do. I did. There was no different. But I went to church. I said that to say, I went to church this Sunday. I've been kind of hitting and missing with church because I had like this huge experience. And so when you're in church and you are a preacher's kid, you know things about ministry that other people don't know, right? You know things about church that other people don't know. So you know if the church don't have any money, you know.
Those are some grown-up things to know.
Right, but it's the truth because it's what's being discussed in the home, you know. Some decisions are being made because typically the elders or the hierarchy in the church are the ones who bear the responsibility for what's going on in the church. And what people don't understand is that trickles down into the household.
It does.
So if the church is trying to buy new property, we know, right? If the church is if so-and-so is sleeping with so-and-so, we know.
Unfortunately.
You know, it's the truth. You know, it's an issue of the hierarchy to solve. And so the parents, although they would love to say that they're keeping it a secret, because my parents didn't gossip. That's one thing I'd have to say is like my mom and dad, I don't gossip because my parents didn't gossip.
And you know that's scriptural. Right. So they're taking and putting biblical words to incorporating them into their lifestyle. Yes. Gossip is absolutely a sin.
Right. And my mom and dad were so my dad would tell us that, this is crazy that I'm saying this at this age, but my dad would tell us that the one thing we had to be held accountable to is Christ-like character. And he would tell us that if we weren't going to do anything, we were going to be Christ-like. And so that meant labor, that meant lifestyle. You know, he was very strict on that. And I appreciate that now because I don't have that struggle, you know?
Sure. And of course, Proverbs is well known. Bring a child up in the way that he or she should go.
And they will not depart from it.
They will not depart.
But also it says to not provoke your child to anger.
That is a very important part of scripture.
And I want to make sure that I say that because one of the things that my parents were really good at is they were good at not provoking us to anger. So my dad was strategic in making it a part of our life, but not necessarily to push us to hate it.
To not oppress you to the point where you want to break completely free from it.
Exactly.
You can, a wise parent can incorporate rules, but the free will to choose to want to do those rules.
Yes. And my mom, and they were a team at that. And I tell people all the time, like, I have a great relationship with my mom and I have a great relationship with my dad. I don't have such a great relationship with them as a unit. Okay. So as parental units, they struggled, but they were very good as mommy and daddy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely.
So they did a great, I love my daddy. I'm a daddy's girl. Okay. And I love my mama. She's my best friend, but I can't stand them together. Like,
do you feel they gang up on you or something?
No. They have issues.
Oh, okay.
They have issues together.
You don't want to be around them together.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha. I love spending time with my mom and I love spending time with my dad. I just don't want to spend time when they're together.
Okay.
And I actually have like a video of us going. I have a video of us going somewhere on a trip, right? And we were like going to the store or something. And so they were in the front seat and I was in the back and I was videoing them. They argued from the time we left the house to the time we got to the store. And like retarded conversation, right? My dad's like, Jolette. So my mom was driving. My dad's in the driver's seat. My mom's like, Jolette, turn here. And she's like, Matthew, are you going to tell me how to get there the whole time? And he's like, well, I know you don't know where you're going, so I'm trying to help you out. You didn't even ask me if I know where I'm going.
You're just assuming I don't know anything. Just like a wife, isn't it?
And then, so like later on in the conversation, my mom said something about somebody at the church, one of the young men at the church, No, he found a business card of one of the young men at the church, and my dad's like, "Who is this?" And my mom goes, "You know who that is? That's blah blah blah." He said, "Well, I don't appreciate him giving my wife a business card. Who does young boy too young, right? Who does he think he is? He trying to sneak up on my wife, right?" My mom's like, "Matthew, give me a break. That little boy doesn't. You don't know what he wants. I know, man. You know." So this was like,
your dad can speak for all men, right?
of course. This was like the whole trip, and then finally, when they let me out the car, I was like, "Thank you for the ride." It's been quite amusing. So now,
I'm gonna go listen to my secular music now.
Exactly. But so that's my parents. But as Christian individuals, as mommy and daddy, daddy was very firm, and then mom she would never teach us to go against daddy, right? Dad is chief, he's king of the home. And even if she didn't believe that what he was saying was right, she would tell us, "That's what your dad wants. If you want something different, pray about it." That's what my mom. Yep. "I can't change your dad, but God can. You should pray." And so she taught us that. And even even to this day, my dad he's still chief, right? Daddy is still chief, will always be chief. But even today, we don't argue with daddy. If we want something done, my dad's really a stand-up guy, and we can depend on him. To be honest, I have to be honest, I can depend on my dad, but we don't want to ask him for nothing because he's crazy. So
is he listening?
I'm sure if he's not listening, someone is telling him. But the whole world knows my daddy is crazy, and they think that I'm just like him.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I went to church this weekend, and one of the things that I recognized in the ministry that kind of shook me a little bit, and you and I were discussing it off the air, is there's so many needs in the ministries, right? There's so many needs in the ministry. And I think that with everybody going to church on Sundays, and, Martin Luther King said that Sundays is the most segregated time of the year, of the week, right? Everybody goes to their own little segregated churches, the whites, the blacks, the Hispanics, they all go. That's the most segregated time of the year.
Interesting.
Of the day.
Yeah.
Of the week, I should say.
It's true.
And so as I'm sitting in my little black church, although we are multicultural, there are, different races and different religions, actually, because my pastor is really an open man of God. So people are comfortable of different faiths being in our church. It's a very odd experience. But
yes,
but that's the man of God that he is. And that's why I love him so much. But as I'm sitting in church, you can see the needs. Yeah. Or maybe I can see them because it's part of my gift, right? So I can feel the needs of the people. And my concern then becomes, if I can feel the needs of this ministry, and I can feel them, not feel F-I-L-L, feel F-E-E-L. If I can feel the needs of this ministry, and I know where the needs aren't being met, imagine across the world all of the needs that are there that aren't being met. And one of them one of the men of God told me that the reason why I can feel them is because I have so many needs. And so, and I have had so many needs. So I'm sensitive spiritually to those needs. And that may be true, but it doesn't negate the fact that there are needs that aren't being met. And as we mature as a country, I hope that we do better in these churches about meeting the needs. I think that as a woman, I know one of my issues has been my son is adopted, and when my son was born, I was afraid that I couldn't function as a mother. They say being a mother is you have a natural instinct to being a mother, but I wasn't a nurturer at that time, so I didn't know how the hell I was going to have a natural instinct, right? I never even wanted children until I had my miscarriage, and then I was like, man, I had a miscarriage, and I fasted, and the woman who's my mother's son came to me and said, I'll have this baby. If you promise to take care of him, I'll have this child. And so the Lord just really blessed me with, he's my miracle baby. But I knew that I wasn't prepared to be a mother. I had 7 months to get ready.
Yes.
But I knew I lacked nurturing. I was a kind of a mean lady at that time, and I wasn't really loving, and I didn't really care I won't say I was selfish because I've never been selfish, but I knew, but my hardship or my obstacle was I was afraid of being hurt. So I put up a front so that people couldn't get through. And I was afraid that that front was so strong that the love for my child wouldn't be able to get through.
Overcome that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I remember going to the church and saying to them, we had a women's department and everything, right? And I was sitting in the women's department, and I remember the first lady was talking about, we want to meet the needs of the women in our church. And I'll never forget, I sat there and I said, well, I have a child coming, and I'm afraid that I might not be a good mother. They all looked at me like I was telling a joke.
Did they laugh?
They laughed at me, yes.
I can imagine, sure.
And I said to them, I'm serious. Like, I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to be a good mother to this child that's coming. Anyway.
Now, A'Esha, you know why they laughed?
No.
All of us moms feel that way. We all feel that way. There's no plan book for how to be a good parent. Sure, there are a lot of authors and do this and that, but every child is different. We all feel that way before our child is born. And even after our child is born, we're always questioning, was that the right thing to do? That's why those women laughed. We all feel that. Hello. We all feel that insecurity when we become a mother. But I think A'Esha's addressing a different issue in the nurturing part of it. If you as a parent know, and she's a very self-aware person, if you as a parent don't know how to nurture, I think that's a very important quality in raising a child, because nurturing is one of the things that they need.
Yes.
And so I really respect I don't think the women understood that what you really were saying is you really didn't have that instinct. And because you were adopting at this point, I can see where that might be confusing to you, because a lot of times just the hormonal and biological occurrences in being pregnant bring forth a lot of these abilities that maybe don't come when someone adopts.
And that was my largest concern. And so what I will say is some of the women took my concern literal and they began to coach me a little. But some of the women, I think it could have been handled differently. And that's what I'm bringing up church for. When the needs aren't being addressed, then the person in the church should go somewhere where the needs will be addressed. Okay. And I think that the church did me an unjust by not first directing me to how to get my need met.
Yes.
Because I openly said, this is my need. So it wasn't like it was a falsehood or they weren't aware. Secondly, if they weren't equipped to meet the need, they should have helped me get the need met. And I believe that this is happening in churches across the nation.
Do you think it's happening because the people with the resources they have needs too that aren't being met?
No, I believe it's because people are self-absorbed.
Okay.
So in some instances, there are churches that are functional, right? And they have all of these ministries that are flowing that no one knows about. And that's one of the things that I mean by self-absorbed. If your church has a ministry that's going on, then they should be networking with other churches saying that this is a ministry that I have going on. And if you have people that need this ministry, but we're also afraid of losing members.
Yes, we are.
And I believe this. When people, let me say it this way. I'm a disciple, okay? Because Matthew 25 says to go ye therefore and teach all nations, okay? So I'm a disciple first. And as a disciple, I should understand that my ministry can't meet the needs of all people.
That's correct.
Okay? My pastor teaches reconciliation. And so which means that the people that are in our church are really, they need to be reconciled.
To what?
To God, to
Okay.
Jesus. Okay. So most of the people, so my church is an unchurched church.
Okay.
Which means that people that go to our church, most of them are people who haven't been in church.
Okay.
Or who are despondent from church.
Okay.
And so my ministry is really good at reconnecting you back.
Okay.
That's the ministry. But if you are churched and you came to my church probably wouldn't be the best church for you.
It would probably look like maybe they're renegades, maybe rebels. Okay.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it's like. It's like being in a radical ministry, right? The only true radicalness is being a man and woman of God. There is nothing else that you can do that's radical anymore, except for being a man and woman of God. Okay, let's just say that.
Okay.
But in our church, because it is an unchurched church, my pastor doesn't teach religion; he teaches spirituality. So if you were churched and used to religion, that church not gonna be good for you. So if I've met you on the street and you would tell me, I used to go to this church and I know these churches because I know a lot of these ministers.
Sure.
And you were like, and I'm just looking for a church home. My church home might not be the first church home that I say. I might say, which I did to a friend of mine. I said, you might want to try Nehemiah Ministries with Kelsey West. That might be a good ministry for you. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because Kelsey West is really a father. He handholds his people and he loves on them and he brings them into that fold. So if I know that you need that, I'm a disciple. So I'm going to disciple you and send you where I believe the best church would be for you.
Okay.
Okay. If you are a man and you're a man of God and you were like, I need a ministry where I could be a man and I could, learn ministry and be nurtured. And I would probably say, you know what? You need to go to the Power Center with Anthony Harris. Anthony's really good with men. He loves men. He brings the men to fold and he knows how to nurture the man in you and teach you how to be a father. And he walks you through that. And he's one-on-one with those men. So that's how you disciple. Okay. If I bring you to my church and I know that that's spiritual suicide, I would be a bad disciple, right? So I believe that as men and women of God, what we lack is the ability to use wisdom and to send people to where the ministry will help them. Or we're afraid that if we don't send them to our church, that our church won't grow. But there's actually a level of reciprocity because the more you give, the more you receive, right? So if you're smart to send a member somewhere where their needs can be met, then God will just automatically meet your needs.
God has designed it that way. And yes, if we give of ourselves as we are commanded to do in Scripture as a Christian, we are to obey the Scriptures. And if we give of ourselves, God will meet our every need.
Absolutely. So I said that to say, I believe that some of the ministries are functioning in good ministry. And I believe that they do have programs that can help one another. And I believe that they have the finances to even do so. But because they have not exposed it to anyone outside of their church, all the needs aren't being met.
You touched on, and I agree with you, you touched briefly on the fact that we're not good at networking. Because we're afraid of losing members. Mm-hmm. There is, of course, that fear that if you do begin networking as a church, members are going to start jumping churches. It's the reality.
It is. They jump in churches anyway. And you really don't want them in your ministry if you can't meet their need, because that would be true ministry, right? If you're not meeting their need, you need them to go somewhere else.
That is true.
And my pastor was talking about that this Sunday, and it just kind of opened my eyes to my own mindset, my own life. But he said he went to a few churches before he realized that he had to start his own church, okay. Right? And that's like reality. And he said, I went over here and I got a little bit. I went over here and I got a little bit. And each time he grew. And then, the Spirit told him, okay, now there's nothing else these people can do for you. You need to get out and get your own, right? And he got his doctorate in theology. My pastor is actually a doctor.
Okay.
But my pastor is a pastor. His passion is pastoring. And so I remember years ago, before I started coming to the ministry, one of the things I asked him is, what is one of the titles? Because he has so many titles,
Mm-hmm.
I said, what's the title that you love and that you want to be called. He said, I want to be called pastor because that's the title I love the most. And he shows us that over and over. Mm-hmm. However, I want to dial back to ministries meeting the needs. So as I sat in our church and I listened to my pastor preach, because I said this openly, so I'm not afraid to say it. I'm so sick of church, but I never get tired of hearing my pastor, right? If I could go somewhere else and hear him, all things would be solved.
The pastor without the church. Right. Now there's a combination. I don't know that you can succeed, but if you can bottle that, you might be able to sell it.
And it's just, that's my way of saying how much I love my leader, right? So, but I sat in the church and I felt the needs of the people, and I don't have it in me to fill the needs anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have it in me to serve in all capacities or to be the administration of the church or to be the minister. I don't have it in me anymore.
Why do you think that is?
I know why it is, but I won't discuss it today.
Okay.
But I know exactly why it is. And I just, the Lord just needs to work on my heart right now. And so I'm just taking the time to do that. But
fair enough.
I said that. So here's the situation. The world is getting to a place where it is becoming dependent on the church to meet the needs. Economics and grants and funding is being structured for the church to meet the needs.
That's borne out in the 500 series tax laws.
Yes.
The 503 nonprofits, faith-based organizations now have tax exempt laws that they go by, and donators go by.
So we are now in a space where it is leading up to the churches to meet the needs. And I'm kind of concerned because I think they're ill-equipped.
Okay.
And I know that that's one of my dilemmas is sitting in the church, sitting in the Black church. I got really bitter last year against the Black church because of exactly what I'm talking about. And I really went on a rampage and I posted it on Facebook. I was really angry at the Black church and their bullying and all of these things, and I was really, really mad because of some things that I was watching. And I was mad not because of pastors or teachings. I was mad because of congregations and the lack of love and forgiveness, the lack of being able to embrace and let me be clear, I'm not one that has ever had a problem with being invited into a clique or anything like that. So it's not me being rebellious, because in most cases I'm in the clique.
Right.
But it's more so as I don't want to be in a clique. I want to meet the needs of the people. I want to be able to show love and service and be able to forgive and be able to nurture what God intended for the person to be. One of my issues is very rarely do I see people the way they are. I see them better. And it's an issue for me, I say, because sometimes I want more for the person than they want for themselves.
I get that. I think there's two types of people in this world: those who see the glass half full and those who see it half empty.
And so it's been disheartening for me to be able to see people better. I would say to be able to see them the way God sees them,
Amen.
And them not want it for themselves.
Amen.
And it's very rare that if I don't like a person, it's because they're just bad. And I tell people this all the time. I go, me, I like everybody. So if I tell you I don't like that person, stay away from them. And people come back to me and they go, oh my God, A'Esha, do you know what she did? I'm like, I told you I don't like her. If I like everybody. I've never met a stranger. I love everybody. So if there is one person that I tell you I don't like her and I don't give you a reason, it's not because of anything that they've done. It's because spiritually something is off and I can feel it. And if I say it, stay away from them. Goodness gracious. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I don't like her. And they be like, well, she did. I'm telling you, I don't like her.
And you have the gift. A'Esha has a gift of discretion. That's an important quality. You know, Mark Twain once said, if common sense were so common, there'd be more of it. It's true. And I would like to interject here. It's no different in the white churches. I come from the white church. And for the radio audience, yes, A'Esha is black and Dee is white. The same thing is happening in the white churches. We aren't getting the needs of the members met, the needs of the community. These faith-based nonprofit organizations that these churches are becoming are not getting it right. And we need to network in the community to get these needs met. And if a church has a strength in one area, it should be strong to everyone in the black community or white community or Asian community or Hispanic community. It should be meeting the needs. The church should be meeting the needs of not just its members.
And you know what? And I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to get to a resolve, because I hate giving an issue and not giving a solution. So I'm glad that you said that. And one of my solutions is, I think, so I'm all about media, right? And I'm all about churches having media presence. And I believe that here is one resolve. Churches, please be active about telling your members to post what you have going on their social media.
Good.
That's an easy and simple answer, because if I'm a member and I network with your members, if I'm looking through their feed, through my timeline, and I can see that this church is having this going on or this church is having this going on, then we're communicating to each other. So I think that's an easy and simple fix. Churches, what you should do, if you have whatever it is that you have going on at your church that you know fills a need, please be conscious and be active. And I used to tell people when I used to coach churches for media, I would tell them, have a social media break. So you know how we have praise breaks?
Yeah.
So you have a social media praise break, right? And in that social media praise break, everybody in that church, you stop and say, because everybody's they Facebooking and we tweeting what's going on in the church anyway. We doing that right now, right in service anyway, right?
That's right.
So in the middle of, like, maybe right before offering would be a great time to do it. And you just say, okay, everybody stop, get your phones out and tweet and Facebook that this is what's going on in your church. It's so simple. If we all did that across the world, then we would know it would be the easiest way to communicate one to another what's going on in our ministries.
And A'Esha isn't going here, but I'm going to go here. She is an excellent consultant when you need to know, you churches, when you need to know how to get on Facebook, how to get Twitter accounts going, how to expose yourself. She's a great consultant for that.
Because if I'm doing, here's a novel idea, right? Right now I'm streaming live. And we have, like, it's not even a lot of equipment. We got a little camera. Right?
Right.
So, and the camera, I think, costs like $80, and I'm streaming live right now. There's no reason why every church can't stream live.
The software, a monitor, that's it.
That's it.
A keyboard, that's it. You can pick those up at a garage sale.
So there's no reason why we don't know what's going on in your church. There's no, I've just eliminated all excuses. So moving forward, the resolve is, let's be active in our media. Okay? I tell people all the time, no, the revolution won't be televised. It'll be on Facebook. And you know what? It's happening right now. The revolution is on Facebook. You know, they used to say the revolution won't be televised. You're right, because it's on the internet. So that is the resolve. As we move forward, we're going to do better, and we're going to meet the needs of the people, and it's going to be simple. The simple solution is, let's be more active about telling people. If your church helped you, then you need to be telling people your church helped you. If you were suffering through something and your ministry met that need, you need to tell people. It's so embarrassing when you talk to someone and they've been going to a church for 20 years and they don't have no answers on why they go. How embarrassing is that? You should be embarrassed as a member that you go into a church and they not meeting your need. Oh my goodness.
I wouldn't want to pastor that person.
That's my point. How embarrassing for both.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Why you go to that church? Well, I don't know. Well, you need to move.
Yeah.
If you don't know why you're going to the church, so my challenge to you is to tell the world what your ministry has done for you. We're going to do two things here. We'll position your ministry for support. Because if people won't support needs, they'll support vision. So if your church has a vision and you aren't active in communicating it, shame on you. And that's why you don't have any support. Okay. Number two, it will attract members to your church because some members are at the wrong ministry. Now, I know pastors don't want me saying that, but it's the truth. They ain't doing nothing but being a cancer to your ministry anyway. I know I'm going to get beat up about this. But if they're at your church and you're not meeting their need, they're cancer. Because all they're doing is talking about how you're not meeting their need. So we don't want them there. We want them at a church that's going to meet their need. Because then what they'll do is if you let them go, then somebody else will replace. And then the person that comes will see the support and will invest in the support. Because we pay tithes and offerings at places that are meeting our needs.
That's
right?
true.
We're happy to pay tithes and offerings when our needs are being met. But the person who's sitting in your church and their needs aren't being met, they're dead weight. They need to go somewhere anyway. I took this class called CEO training, and it's given by Lord have mercy. Anyway, you can Google it. It's called CEO training. Dean Radke is his name. And one of the things Dean Radke challenges churches is he challenges churches to build teams that are functional. And he says that the way we do that is sometimes what we have to do is eliminate the crowd. Sometimes what we have to do is start from scratch. We have to say, here's the vision of the church, and this is where we're going. And if you're not with that vision, you can leave. But what happens is you position yourself to start a funnel, because the people who are attached to that vision will start attracting people to the vision. And now you have constant and structured leadership because they are about the vision. And then what you do is you hold everybody accountable to that vision. What portion are you taking to push this vision forward? And then if they're not taking that, then they have to go. But then you have strong leaders. And it seems simple, right? Because we're doing that in business all the time, but we're afraid to do it in our churches. But maybe that's the reason why we're not functional. So anyway, I gave my resolve and I gave my dissertation. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I had to get that off my chest because I posted something on Facebook yesterday and people were really worried about me. They were just kind of like, what's going on with you and where's your heart? And because people know that I love ministry, but that's my heart. My heart is we're a little dysfunctional, and I know that everybody knows it, but no one's given a resolve. And so my resolve is let's talk it out. Let's really be conscious about where we are strong, and let's focus in on those places. And let's not bring attention to the weaknesses, because you don't do that in your home. In your own home, you don't bring attention to your weakness. You position yourself to support the weak spots so that it makes you stronger. So we should be doing the same thing in our church. We shouldn't be tearing each other down. We should be loving one another. If we have open spaces to help one another, we should be doing that. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to communicate that, and to communicate that through social media. So that's my challenge to the people.
Well said.
Let's move into marijuana. Let's just shift from church to marijuana.
I think the phone's ringing.
So I'm in the medical marijuana business, and I am a consultant. And
I'm not, and I do not use marijuana. I just want that out there.
And so one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about, and I'm just going to hit on it just a little, is that medical marijuana is not the same as recreational marijuana. So it is absolutely a patient driven business. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. So I'm going to explain this. There are people in this world who are suffering, and medical marijuana is the only thing that actually can help them without messing up, because it's really a holistic point of view, right? So the doctors prescribe medicine that will disrupt your kidney sometimes, mess with your lungs. Oftentimes they have long-lasting effects to your body. And there is over 500 years of research to medical marijuana that teaches that it doesn't disrupt your bodily functions in that manner. And so for some people, one of the number one things that I'm going to point out is because right now in our world, we're very sensitive to veterans. For the first time in years, we're sensitive to veterans, right?
Correct.
Thank God. It's a shame that it's taken us this long, but
yes,
nevertheless, we're sensitive to veterans. And our veterans, a lot of the veterans who have served in Desert Storm and even in
Iraq, Vietnam.
Yeah, I was going to say. And the reason why it's funny, I don't want to say this, but we're in a space where the Vietnam veterans, that era is passing away, so they're older. And they definitely don't need to be taking all of these different drugs that deal with their post-traumatic stress disorder, which is relatively a new diagnosis, right? So we have so many different strikes, that has happened. They don't call them wars, but they call them strikes or conflicts. So we have all of these conflicts, and we have veterans that come from these conflicts. And so they have the PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome. But now they're even finding out that post-traumatic stress syndrome, because I have a friend who has PTSD, and he just had it from a situation in a relationship. So now we're finding out that syndrome is relative in just regular people. And some of the things that they prescribe, and, I'm not a doctor or anything, it's just my personal research, but they prescribe Xanax and, things like that. And those things mess with your lungs, they mess with your kidneys, they mess with your head. Yeah. So it's, and the effects have not been proven, but they're long lasting, and it's extremely, extremely addictive.
It does have the same mechanisms as marijuana in that it's an anti-anxiety remedy. PTSD is, does stand for post-traumatic stress disorder. The syndrome comes when it moves from a disorder to an actual syndrome.
Okay.
So regardless of the diagnosis, anti-anxiety medications, chemical anti-anxiety medications, whether it's marijuana or Xanax, which is a controlled substance, it's a narcotic.
It's a narcotic.
Can be addicting.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good that we're having this discussion, because if medical marijuana is a remedy, the long-term effects need to be studied.
Exactly.
And all of this needs to be known, just like with the chemicals like Xanax that are produced by pharmaceutical companies.
And so one of the things that I like to point out, and I want people to get into a habit of doing their research, because there's so much research that tests against using medical marijuana. And we're just now getting into the era that medical marijuana is being tested as a pro. So right. What we're finding is, in some of the research that I've done, is some of the finds are that there aren't too many side effects. And when you have a drug that's like that, of course, of course, it's still not a controlled substance. And that's like the largest thing, right? Because it's a substance, the chapter that it's been classified as isn't a controlled substance yet. So it'd have to be classified as substance 3, table level 3, and not 2. So
okay,
I'm gonna put that out there real quick. But I said that to say, if you are a patient that is suffering from pain, or you have cancer, or HIV, or anxiety, because I have anxiety and some other things, what you'll find is you can look up research on how marijuana has helped and contributed to people being functional in their life regarding it. And in some studies, they did take the other drugs, and they weren't able to have functional lives, because a lot of that stuff makes you kind of depressed, and
the side effects can be even worse than the diagnosis. And
so medical marijuana is just another patient care. And I'm really sensitive to a lot of the patients, because I'm finding out that so this is my heart right now, right? And being in the medical marijuana business, and I'm looking down because this really is my heart right now. Being in the medical marijuana business was really difficult for me, because it tested my personal belief systems. I had to battle things that I had been taught in spirituality and Christianity. And I really struggled with whether or not I could embrace this as a business. And I did that, and I'm sure many other people are having that same struggle. But I did so because I began to meet patients. And yes, that world is a different world, and it's probably difficult for some people to understand, but the people who are in this business take this business very seriously. And the people who are conscious of patient care, we take that very seriously. And some of these patients, like multiple, I met a young lady and she was suffering from multiple sclerosis. And I say this because I just lost a friend to multiple sclerosis. And it's a very body attacking disease. And so she became a medical marijuana patient in order to ease her pain and to release the stress that goes on in her body. Because what happens is your bones and they start to give in this way, like it's there under so much stress,
contracting. Yes. Your body starts attacking itself.
And so she became a medical marijuana patient, and it was the only thing that she's ever taking that relieves that. And the craziest thing is now the MS was attacking her body so much till she couldn't even walk. She was already in a wheelchair. And if people know, like, there are levels to MS, but it attacks so fast. It's, in some instances it's rapid. But when she started becoming a medical marijuana patient, she began to walk again because the medical marijuana relaxed her nerves and it relaxed her body so that she could move. And so for me, the patient care is very important. And I just want people to understand that we have to allow patients to be patients. And the medical marijuana, it's going to give patients a place to actually be a patient. Because right now what they're doing is they're hiding to get care. And it's almost, I don't want to use this extreme, but it's almost like how it was before we made abortions okay. They were going places in trailers and having abortions with hangers and killing themselves. So here we are having people who are patients going in the alleys to meet their caregivers, and they're getting robbed. And and people are following them and stealing from them. So we have to allow our patients to become real patients. And I hate to give the extremity of of what's going on, but I want to paint that picture because there's so many religious, not just religious, I won't say that, but there's so many people who are fascists against what's going on, right? They are strong and they are completely against it. But I want you to think of it from another angle. Think of it from the patient care. Think of offering an opportunity for this patient to get their medicine openly.
And A'Esha, that's why you bring this up on media, is because it needs to be talked about.
Yes, it does. And we're hiding, we're hiding.
That's right.
Now, if and I know some of the pastors are teaching against it, and I'm okay with that because, I don't want anybody to just jump on board because, whatever. So I agree with the pastors who are teaching, but I wanted to state my case and just say, patients should be treated as patients. Yes. And this is the area that I'm in. And I know patients personally, and I'm in that world, and they should be able to go to a pharmacy.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. I think you're getting that word out there is important to further patient care. The Nevada legislature just passed oxycodone or hydrocodone restrictions. And now people cannot get refills. So each time you need a dose, you have to go get a refill. This is a narcotic with known addictions and known side effects. So, and the only way that these restrictions are going to be exposed is through media talking about it. The reason I bring this up is if medical marijuana is addicting, as some studies say, then let's get the information out there, get it out of the hands of doctors that abuse substances, such as happened with the hydrocodone and oxycodone. It got into the hands of abusive doctors. And let's keep this regulated and in the hands of doctors that are responsible, and it will succeed for patient care.
And I agree. And I want to give kudos to Tick Sitterbloom for being able to pursue this and making it a Nevada legislature. So I appreciate him championing this bill and making sure that patient care was first and foremost for Nevada. And then I want to also say congratulations, state of Nevada, for being so strict on the guidelines so that we were conscious of being operating as pharmaceuticals and being clear on patient care and how important that is. And so congratulations to you guys for understanding the importance and putting regulations together to maintain that integrity. So, it's been a pain in my neck, but ultimately I appreciate them doing that. So, we're going to end the show. I really wanted to talk about the foster care system, but I will delay that for Wednesday. And then I'll have some people in here that I know are foster parents, and we'll discuss that, because I took a little bit of time. I took a lot more time than I anticipated. So I guess ministry really is my passion, because I took a lot more time than I anticipated with that. But so on Wednesday, we will be talking about foster care. And that's another one of my passions, something that's really close to my heart. And it's because I was in the foster care system. A lot of people, I say it all the time, so I'm not ashamed of it. And because I always tell people I'm a survivor of the foster care system, yes. Nevada yes. foster care system. And so we're going to kind of discuss the obstacles of the foster care system. And what I'm going to do is, so I've really been struggling with doing some events. I haven't done any events this year because I've been dealing with medical marijuana. So I haven't really I tell people all the time, if you ain't talking about weed, I don't want to talk about it, because that's my focus. And so I want to do, I'm going to work with the Department of Family Services this year, and I'm going to do a foster care rally with Commissioner Weekly. He does Adoption Day because, he was adopted. And so he does Adoption Day, and I do that with him. But this year I'm going to before the end of this year, I'm going to get with the Department of Family Services, and I'm going to do an outreach for foster care. So we're going to recruit some foster parents. That is something I'm going to do. And it's something I've always wanted to do, but I've just kind of didn't want to be in the limelight and, different things. But that's something I'm going to do. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. And I'm going to see if I can get somebody from Department of Family Services on the phone so we can talk about how to become a foster parent. And then also, Friday usually has been the book author day, right? Friday is usually the day that I have authors on the show. So I'm going to begin that again. So on Fridays, my goal is to have an author on the show. So this Friday, I believe I have an author book, so I'll let you know Wednesday. I have a new author that will be coming on the show on Friday. And we do this because I'm an author. I wrote a book called Official Rules to Being Single. So that's the reason why all of my stuff is One Dating Guru. My Twitter, my Facebook, all of it is One Dating Guru. So if you're looking for me, if you can't find A'Esha Goins, just Google One Dating Guru. We are at our time. Dee, this has been a great show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
I'm always impressed with how informed and self-aware you are.
I'm too self-aware. I need to just let it go. Yeah. I appreciate you watching Life of a Daughter with Radio Tribune. It's www.radiotribune.com. And you can find me A'EshaGoins.com. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you Wednesday, same time, 8 a.m. Bye. You got to hit stop broadcast at the bottom. Red button.